Imagine this.
Chargers need an answer here.
It's a tight game and the fourth quarter's winding down. The Chargers need yards, a lot of them, and in a hurry.
Herbert from the shotgun. This is the game.
The defense knows that Justin Herbert has to throw bombs down the field, and Herbert knows that they know he has to throw bombs down the field. Everyone in the stadium is on the same page, and the defense is already scheming up whatever coverage they can to take away the deep area of the field. It seems like a classic Hail Mary situation that we see in the NFL every single week, but the Chargers have more than just a prayer here.
All right, we're going to stand up.
Yeah, stand up for this one. Here we go.
Here we go. Let's go.
Because beyond having a crazy talented quarterback, their new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, also has one more card up his sleeve. In our last episode breaking down Kellen Moore's offense and what it's going to look like now that he's in LA, we broke down the run game, especially from 12 personnel groupings, to look at all the different ways that he can punish any type of defensive front. Today, we're going to be shifting focus to the passing game, and in particular, what Moore likes to do from 11 personnel. 11 personnel, by the way, for those who don't know, means one back, one tight end, and 3 receivers on the field. And the Cowboys last season under Moore ran 11 personnel 62% of the time. So it was by far their most common personnel grouping. And from that grouping, the vast majority of their plays were passes at a whopping 67.2%. The important context of those passing plays, however, was how much Kellen Moore emphasized pushing the ball down the field. The Cowboys were 8th in the NFL in average depth of target out of 11 personnel last season at 9.5 yards past the line of scrimmage, with the vast majority of those targets going well past the sticks as a result of their emphasis on vertical route concepts. Coach Moore is a big believer in creating chunk plays down the field from those 3 receiver sets as a complement to the ball control style that came from their punishing ground game. That being said, though, the general philosophy that he used to create those chunk plays through the air was packaging aggressive deep route combinations together that exploit the different leverages that a quarterback would see from different styles of coverage, so that no matter what, he always has answers at the line of scrimmage. And I know that all of that probably sounds like just a bunch of meaningless buzzwords, and I don't blame you for that, so let's break down exactly what I'm talking about here. Taking a look at the Bengals game early in the season where Dallas faced an elite Cincy defense under coach Lou Anarumo, Moore was able to guide the Cowboys to a win with a backup quarterback, Cooper Rush, by doing just that, packaging aggressive routes together that all exploit different coverages. Dallas is in a condensed 3-by-1 look here with an isolated tight end backside, really close to the offensive line in what some coaches call a nasty split, while running back Tony Pollard has walked himself up into a pass protection posture, which most coaches call the sniffer position. The Bengals are threatening 5 and potentially up to 7 pass rush threats here, so the Cowboys are keeping as many blockers in to protect as they can so that they can buy time for this dagger cross combination to come open deep down the field. Like I said, Moore is all about using aggression to create chunk plays, but what I really love about this concept is that it gives the quarterback a clear middle field open versus middle field closed read on the safeties. Middle field open is exactly as it sounds. It just means that the middle of the field is open with a too high safety look, and middle field closed is also exactly as it sounds. The middle of the field is closed by a single high safety or a post safety or a free safety. Really, whatever term you prefer to use, they all apply here. A dagger cross route combination gives Cooper Rush an either or read based on if the middle of the field is open or closed. So if, for instance, this was an open look with 2 high safeties, then that boundary safety would be nailing down on the cross with good leverage, and the field side safety would be carrying this seam route deep down the field. Those 2 safeties being taken out of the picture would then open up a huge window over the middle for the dig route on that dagger concept to come open. Ironically, there's a great example of this concept working against the Chargers last year when they beat the Falcons on the road in Atlanta. They were in quarters coverage there, and the seam route cleared both of the 2 high safeties, so the dig route could work to the soft spot in the deep middle, and it was a big gain. But anyway, you get the idea now of what a good dagger concept looks like against middle field open looks. Against middle field closed exposed, however, that's where the deep cross comes into play as the primary read. If you look at how that route attacks this coverage, if that crossing route crosses the face of not only the man coverage defender that is on it, but also crosses the vertical plane of the post safety, then there's virtually nothing the defense can do to stop it against a good quarterback. Because at that point, once the receiver has leverage on the route, then it just comes down to making a good throw that can take advantage of that leverage to box out defenders and put the ball where only the receiver can get it. And I think we all know very well at this point that Justin Herbert can reliably make that particular throw in his sleep. This concept is something that you're going to see a lot next season to give Herbert an easy either-or read so that he can just grip it and rip it down the field and really maximize his aggression and arm talent. Because after all, no matter what coverage is called on defense, eventually everything becomes man coverage in a sense when it's 20 yards down the field. It's just up to the quarterback to find which one of those quasi-man coverage matchups that he likes best and make the throw. Let me give you one more example though, and this one I think might drive the point home even better than that last one against Cincy. This was one of the Cowboys' most effective versions of a Mills concept last year, with a little shallow cross underneath as a checkdown option as well. And for those of you who don't know, Mills is basically the quarters coverage killer in the NFL today, especially for teams with a quarterback that can throw really well down the field. And it's so effective because Mills capitalizes on and exploits the dirty little secret about quarters coverage that I just mentioned a minute ago. It's not actually a zone coverage. At least not in the traditional sense that you think it is. While quarters may sound like just another way of saying cover 4, that's not actually what quarters is. What quarters really is, for lack of a better word, is just man coverage, but with a flow chart that has to be processed and executed in a split second by every single defender in the secondary simultaneously. For example, on this play, every DB here has their own mental flow chart. The field side corner is going to take the vertical of whichever one of these stacked receivers ends up as the so-called final number 1 after they both get out of their release, or in layman's terms, the receiver that is furthest outside. Again, when we count receiver numbers, we count from the outside in. So the furthest outside is 1, the second one is 2, if there's a third receiver, it's 3, and so on. So again, the corner has number 1, and the safety will take the vertical of the final number 2, or if one of those receivers breaks inside and underneath within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, like what actually happened here, then they'll play it as an inside-out bracket on the new final number 1 to that side. Meanwhile, on the boundary side, the corner once again will carry the number 1 vertical, and the safety will carry any vertical from number 2. This linebacker, by the way, will carry that tight end up to the safety and then drop off at about 12 yards past the line of scrimmage. So think of him as delivering the number 2 directly to the safety. Now, if you kept up with all that, you might have picked up on what actually makes Mills effective against quarters. If this safety is locked in on the number 2 and he's not playing over the top of the number 1 and helping to bracket that receiver, then this boundary side corner is essentially on an island. It's man coverage without being labeled as man coverage. And not only is this corner on an island, but he's on an island from 7 yards off in outside leverage with no inside help against CD freaking Lamb. All Dak had to do was just check the boundary side safety during his drop to make sure he wasn't expanding to play a deep half technique like he's in cover 2. And once he confirmed that he was not doing that and he was just staying inside to play the tight end in quarters, then it became easy for him. Like I said, sooner or later, no matter the coverage that is called, everything becomes man when it's 20 yards down the field. At that point, it's just receiver against defender, and we'll see who wins. Lamb did a wonderful job getting into the corner's blind spot behind his hip to make him panic and expand even further outside. And from there, he stemmed back inside on the skinny post, and he trusted Dak to hit him in the chest with his leverage advantage to the inside, which of course he did. This play is the perfect encapsulation of what the Kellen Moore passing game looks like. For better or worse, he will be aggressive as a play caller, and he will give his quarterback a chance to push the ball down the field, because he knows that safeties can't be everywhere at once, bracketing everything, and at least one corner in every single coverage in the playbook will be by themselves deep down the field. That is just how the math works, and it's on the quarterback to find that isolated weak link and destroy it over and over and over again.
Takes the handoff, Herbert's got room, rolls to his right, takes that shot, back toward Mike Williams, other side of the field, caught to the 15!
I'm speechless on that one.
I'm not saying that the Chargers offense is going to be unstoppable this season. Nobody can make that prediction. But what I am saying is that if you watch both parts of this series, from a schematic perspective, I think it's pretty clear that the Chargers offense is going to be really, really aggressive, and perhaps more than ever, emphasize what Justin Herbert does really well. And I mean that both pre-snap and post-snap. From 12 personnel looks, if they want to run the ball, they're gonna run the ball. They have the answers to run the ball against any front with any personnel grouping. We already know that. It's just on Justin Herbert to read the front pre-snap and get them into the right run for the situation, which he will. And then from 11 personnel looks, where we know that they want to throw the ball down the field, at that point it's up to Justin Herbert to find the right post-snap matchup for any given concept against any given coverage, because somebody out there is all alone. We know that. And again, Herbert will do that too. This offense is run by a former quarterback, and you can tell because it puts an insane amount of responsibility on the quarterback. But with all of that responsibility comes flexibility and big play potential. If you thought that Justin Herbert was good before, and obviously he was, just wait until you see what's next.